Hello everyone, welcome to this video, 14th in the word order in Old English series, and we're going to look at sentence structure today and just the different ways you can say the same thing, same meaning. Yes, I'll just move this cable out of the way, that's it. Okay, all right, so we're going to look at sentence structure. So early West Saxon has considerably freer word order than modern English, but it is not random. It's not completely free. You can't just jumble words up. The case endings allow flexibility, but the finite verb normally occupies the second position in a main clause, so verb to, as are all the Germanic languages, especially when an adverb is fronted. We'll see an example of that. And so what we're going to do for this video is we're going to look at the following example. ā-wēģde hit mit wē tum clāþe. Okay, I wiped it with a wet cloth. And we're going to look at how we can rearrange this into different orders, different word orders, but meaning the same thing, but keeping verb second. And we'll show you what that. I'll show you what that means. All right. So neutral declarative order, the most straightforward pattern. ā-wēģde hit mit wē tum clāþe. So the structure is a subject, each verb, ā-wēģde, a conjugated verb that is, the object hit, and then the instrument, mit wē tum clāþe, is all in the dative there. I can just point out too that even if the preposition mid is gone from there, then the instrumental form wē tum clāþe, you could have ich ā-wēģde hit wē tum clāþe. That would be an even earlier version. The preposition started to appear later in the early West Saxon. But even earlier, you could dispense with that and have this in its instrumental form. Now, the instrumental form was disappearing in the Old English period. So it took the dative shape, and as you can see, wē tum clāþe is in the dative. But an even earlier version could have been ich ā-wēģde hit wē tum clāþe without the preposition there. Generally, when you see preposition, that signals the dative. So these words here go into the dative form. Okay, now instrument fronted, fronting the instrumental phrase, the mit wē tum clāþe, gives a mild emphasis. So in the conversation that's occurring, I may particularly want to emphasize the fact that there was a wet cloth involved. So I could say mit wē tum clāþe ā-wēģde ich hit. Notice that I've got the instrumental phrase, mit wē tum clāþe, fronted, but then the verb goes second instead of the subject. Up here I have the subject verb is second. Here, in order to keep the verb second, I have to displace the subject, ich, I. Mit wē tum clāþe ā-wēģde ich hit, with a wet cloth, I it wiped. All right? Or with a wet cloth wiped, I it. Okay, I wiped it with a wet cloth. So the structure here is instrument, verb, subject, object, and this still follows the verb second rule in the main clause. Emphasizes the thing wiped. So the object fronted, remember that's in the accusative. This is the object. Ich in the nominative, all right, the conjugated verb, and the dative. All right, so hit ā-wēģde ich mit wē tum clāþe. So the structure is object, verb second, verb, conjugated verb second, subject, instrument, okay? Can do that, and we can do that still because we're keeping the verb second, okay? So I might say that, hit ā-wēģde ich mit wē tum clāþe, because I wanted to emphasize perhaps it, this thing I'm wiping. Right. You could have verb initial narrative order, so verb first clauses occur in narrative style. Verb first comes with questions, but also with declarations, commands. Okay, so I maybe make a declaration. ā-wēģde ich hit wē tum clāþe. Wiped I it with wet cloth. So the subject here is the structure here. Sorry, my apologies. The structure is verb, subject, object, instrument. I'm making a declaration. Wiped I it with a wet cloth. All right? ā-wēģde ich hit mit wē tum clāþe. Next one, pronoun fronting. This is quite common to put the two pronouns together at the front. Funny, isn't it? So like the pronouns make a single unit. Then you have the verb. So you've still got verb second. So pronouns can appear together before the finite verb. Ich hit ā-wēģde mit wē tum clāþe. And these form a unit. I, it, wiped with wet cloth. Okay. I mean, to our modern English is I, it, wiped with a wet cloth. I mean, it sounds weird and stilted and something from the past, but it's not unintelligible to us. Right? You just sort of treat this I, it, each hit as a unit, a single, like the pronominals or the as they're referred to, or the pronouns just as a single block. Then comes the conjugated verb, and then the rest. All right. Ich hit ā-wēģde mit wē tum clāþe. Then number 6, the instrument. I was referring to this before. Placed before the instrument is the mit wē tum clāþe. Remember all this in the dative here. The preposition followed by the dative. The instrument can be placed before the object. So this is a minor rearrangement within the clause. So ich ā-wēģde mit wē tum clāþe hit. So I wiped with a wet cloth it. Okay. Again, sounds weird in modern English, but not unintelligible. It sounds a bit stilted, a bit strange, but I wiped with a wet cloth it. I mean, you could, it's still understandable. Okay, what cannot normally happen, doesn't mean it doesn't or can't, but what cannot normally happen, language is flexible. I mean, you can be poetic and break all the rules and sound very poetic. It just depends on what effect you want. Right? But normally it cannot happen. So this example violates typical West Saxon, early West Saxon syntax, or any West Saxon syntax. Mit wē tum clāþe, ich ā-wēģde hit. Now, if you think about it, you can see for a minute, look where the conjugated verb is. It's in third place. That generally cannot happen unless somehow you're being poetic or playing around with language or something. So placing mit wē tum clāþe, the instrument first, as we've seen earlier, is emphasizing what you've done. You've emphasizing with a wet cloth, wiped I it. But mit wē tum clāþe, ich ā-wēģde hit, no. All right, generally not, unless you're playing with the language in some way, and that's perhaps clear to those listening to you. You could have mit wē tum clāþe ā-wēģde ich hit, as I showed earlier, but not with this bit where the verb is in the third place. All right, now, maybe I can just hide that for a moment. All right, now, so just a summary of acceptable patterns. We have the neutral pattern, ich ā-wēģde hit mit wē tum clāþe, okay, the usual pattern you might expect. Instrument fronted, mit wē tum clāþe ā-wēģde ich hit. See how the instrument, then the verb in second place, which displaces the subject, the nominative, to third place, and then finally the accusative object. Object fronted, the accusative object, hit, the conjugated verb, ā-wēģde, ich, subject in the nominative, mit wē tum clāþe, the dative, or the instrument if you like, because really in the Old English period, the instrumental and the dative had pretty well merged together. Just to be really, the dative had subsumed the instrumental. Verb initial, ā-wēģde ich hit mit wē tum clāþe. All right, a statement. Wiped I it with a wet cloth. Okay, you might be saying indignant that someone's questioned your cleanliness or something, or whatever it is. Okay, pronoun fronting, ich hit ā-wēģde mit wē tum clāþe, I it wiped with a wet cloth. This is just putting the pronouns together, which is quite common. You can do that. I it. All right. So I is the subject in the nominative. It is the object. Hit, it's the object. It gets wiped with a wet cloth. Instrument moved internally. Ich ā-wēģde mit wē tum clāþe hit. Okay, you could do that. You've got verb second. You've got the subject here in the nominative. You've got the object it in the accusative here, hit, and you can displace those. All right. It's important to keep verb second. All right. And then finally, turn that. All right, finally, there are also a couple of variations to the sentences given on the previous slide. So again, we can have the verb first if we're making a declaration, a declarative sentence. ā-wēģde, ich, mit wētum, clāþe, hit. Okay, we can do all that. And a couple of variations there. We can take the instrument to the end. Okay, hit ā-wēģde, mit wē tum, clāþe, ich. Perhaps less. This would be interpreted as it was I who wiped it with a wet cloth. Is perhaps, it wiped with a wet cloth I. So it's like saying it was wiped with a wet cloth by myself. It was I who wiped it with a wet cloth. Okay, saying the same thing, just the modern English translation would be a little bit different. It was I. See how the itch on the end there. Who wiped it with a wet cloth. It was I who wiped it with a wet cloth. You can imagine I'm just saying this to you now. Hit ā-wēģde, mit wē tum, clāþe, ich. It was wiped with a wet cloth by me. It was I who wiped it with a wet cloth. Okay, so another variation. Then ā-wēģde, mit wē tum, clāþe, ich hit. All right, so here verb coming in here. And then, so this is just another variation you can have. Again, another declarative sentence. ā-wēģde, mit wē tum, clāþe, ich hit. Wiped with a wet cloth, I it. All right, so you could do that sort of thing as well. All right, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this useful. Please understand that word order is not random. There's more variation than modern English, but not random, not completely random or any. Okay, verb second, except in questions, commands, declarative statements, sentences. Okay. Thank you very much again for watching. Wherever you are in the world, stay safe. If you will, please push the like button and subscribe as well. I'd greatly appreciate that, and it helps to spread the channel. And I will see you all in the next video. And please do push the like button and subscribe. I don't monetize this channel. I'm just doing it for the benefit of people to learn the language. This is not a monetized channel. I don't make anything out of it. So if you will, please spread the message around. I'd greatly appreciate that. Okay, thank you very much. Take care, everyone. And I shall see you all in the next video. Thanks again. All right, bye.